wasn't it? It's okay to just look at the world and say why. I don't understand.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2021 Netflix limited series Midnight Mass, a film that is written and directed by Mike Flanagan, and it stars Kate Siegel, Zach Gilford, Kristen Lehman, Samantha Sloyan, Rahul Kohli, and we also get Henry Thomas and Hamish Linklater. Now, this is Mike Flanagan's follow-up, I suppose you could say, to The Haunting of Hill House and The Haunting of Bly Manor. Two excellent shows. Haunting of Hill House was superb, a really fantastic show. Bly Manor, a little bit of a disappointment, but still high-quality stuff. And Midnight Mass, I'll be honest, I didn't know an awful lot about up until a couple of weeks ago. It started getting a lot of buzz. I didn't even know he was doing like another show, Mike Flanagan, for Netflix, and then it just appeared. And then everyone were going mad for it. So I've just finished watching it last night with my wife. We watched a couple of episodes a night until we finished the 7 episodes. And I have to say, I thought this was magnificent. Really, really fantastic. And probably the highlight of the 3 shows that he's done for Netflix. I mean, Mike Flanagan's very talented anyway. He's done some great, great horror stuff. And I think this series was great in so many ways. It was great because it reminded me of great horrors that we've seen before, horror movies and things. It reminded me of things like, you know, Salem's Lot. It reminded me very much of like Stephen King's work in many ways, not just the Salem's Lot stuff, but just the way it was written and played out. It felt very Stephen King-like. It felt like, excuse me, I almost felt like Steven Spielbergian as well at times. You know, it was just superbly made and structured. I thought it was great because it was really thought-provoking. Now, this show is heavily linked to religion and mortality and all this kind of stuff. And there's many, many deep discussions around this in the show. Now, me, as an atheist, I don't have an issue with religion at all. If people want to be religious, that's absolutely fine. I choose not to be. But I found it absolutely fascinating, these discussions in this show. And what do we get in this show? Well, for those of you who don't know about Midnight Mass, this is... it follows initially a character called Riley Flynn. And we see at the beginning of the show, he has, while drunk, had been in an accident and killed a young girl. He ends up going to jail for 4 years, and then he ends up going back after 4 years home to Crockett Island, the small island with very few, I think it's about 119 residents on it, something like that, to live with his mother and father and younger brother. There's very little to do on this island. And then their priest, Monsignor Pruitt, was sent on a pilgrimage for several months, and he was like suffering with dementia. He was in his 80s. And they are then greeted with a new priest, Father Paul, who reassures them that their priest is okay. He's just been treated on the mainland, and he's replaced him for the time being. And then some strange events start taking place on the island. Some miracles, apparent miracles, connected to Father Paul and the church. The residents on the island all seem to be improving physically in quite dramatic ways, but there is also a darkness on this island that is manipulating, you could say, Father Paul for its own means. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about spoilers in this show, because it's one of those shows that it's difficult to talk about without some spoilers. So if you're not interested in spoilers, then it might be worth clicking off now. But yeah, I found it fascinating in the sense of this connection that Mike Flanagan made to religion and vampirism, basically. Now, Father Paul, or Monsignor Pruitt, as it turns out, is Father Paul. And what happened on his pilgrimage, he got lost in a sandstorm and ended up in like some old ruins, and he was attacked. But what he describes as an angel, but in actual fact was a vampire. It feeds on him, gives him some of its own blood, and essentially he is then full of vampire blood. He sneaks this creature back home in one of his trunks, and then starts using this creature's blood in order to aid the people on the island, I suppose. And he wants them to feel this connection to God that he thinks he has got as well. So what he's doing essentially is feeding the blood to them during communion. So there's a girl on the island who was paralyzed. She can now walk. There are some of them de-aging massively. And there's one character on the island, Bev Keane, who's like a religious fanatic who takes it to extremes, all these miracles that are taking place. There's a sheriff on the island, Sheriff Hassan, who is a Muslim, who obviously has differing views. And that's something that I think this programme does really, really well, is the debate it has about religion. You've got atheists in there like Riley Flynn, like myself. You've got Christians in there. And you've got Muslims in there, all there in the mix, all taking part in this brilliant show, all having these deep, meaningful discussions about life, death, religion, God, etc. And I can tell you, being an atheist myself, I found this show really refreshing because it blended these brilliant topics in a really conventional way and a really fantastic show that kept you gripped. It reminded me a lot of Lost as well, the TV show Lost, because that show Lost, it gave you more questions and answers. And for the first few episodes of this show, it just gives you questions and very few answers, and then slowly starts leaking out the answers to you and slowly revealing what's happening to you. And it was brilliant. I thought it was also really frustrating, which I also enjoyed, because it was getting me really angry that some of these people were just blinded and they couldn't actually make the connection as to what was going on. Some of them, there's a doctor on the island played by Annabelle Gish, was trying to give a scientific approach in regards to what's happening to the blood on the island, etc. So it's really balanced. It tries to be really balanced in its approach. You know, it gives it religious explanations, scientific explanations, and then we get the monstrous explanation that this angel is no angel, it's a bloody vampire. And it's a slow build, it's a slow burn show that builds to a really fantastic conclusion. The last 2 episodes are edge of the seat stuff, I thought. Some brilliant acting and performances here on display, who had some really meaty monologues to deliver as well in this show. And I thought they all delivered brilliantly. I really, really did. I thought they all delivered brilliantly. And the actor that played Father Paul, Hamish Linklater, who I don't know an awful lot about, he managed to pull off this charismatic role brilliantly. He's a villainous character in many, many ways, but one of the most likeable and relatable characters I've ever seen. And they balance that out with the Samantha Sloyan character, Bev Keane, brilliantly, who I think is one of the best on-screen villains I have seen for quite some time. I thought she was superb. Really frustrated character. I really wanted her to get her comeuppance. She was a really dislikable character, but played brilliantly. And that's what this show is. It's brilliant from start to finish. It's engaging. It's thought-provoking. It's exciting. And it's one of the most intelligent shows I think I've seen for a long, long time. For many, many different ways. So I thought it was superb, this show. I'm going to give this a very, very strong 9.5 out of 10. It spoke to me, this show, in many ways, not just because of the horror elements and the great vampire story that we got that was very familiar in many ways, but also the great performances, the great acting, the great writing, the great direction, and the thought-provoking aspect of the show. It had everything for me, for the most part. So yeah, guys, do not miss Midnight Mass. I promise you, you will regret it if you do. It's definitely worth checking out. So I hope you like this review. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I will be back with plenty more content on the channel very, very soon.